Hello guys and welcome back to a new video. If you will enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments to help me boost this video. Thanks. Story 1. Why do I look like I'm a worker? It'd be what I was wearing, but multiple people in the past have also mistaken me as a worker even in normal clothing in a dress code place. Was actually at the mall with my so, and we're looking for a dress for a wedding we'll be helping with. So of course we stopped at all the stores inside. I was in the back of the store waiting for my so, while he tried some clothes he was planning on switching out for the wedding. So as he takes a while, I patiently wait right outside of the small dressing room. Then I eye some on sale panties I like that are displayed a bit away from the dressing room. So I get out of the way from the entrance and start subtly sifting through them to see which designs I'd want. Keep in mind the workers are working in fashionable all black tight clothing, but I wore more bright natural colors and loose clothing. And in a skirt. Some teenager girl walks near me, then kinda shifts in place before I turn to her and smile as a "oh hey there, haha, didn't mean to get in your way." She starts talking immediately though. "Oh, can I use the dressing room please?" "Oh yeah, you definitely can, haha." I responded like this because I had assumed she knew I wasn't a worker, and that she just wanted to make sure if you could just walk into an open stall. But based on my response and relaxed tone, she made a face of pure embarrassment while gasping dramatically. Her mouth just hung open as she stared unblinkingly at me. "Oh my gosh, you don't work then?" She blinked her eyes tightly and did an embarrassed wanting to die inside screech laughter fish gasping for air sound. She was literally hunched over and moving in slow-mo as she laughed lol. She was even comfortable enough to even sloth clap her hand onto my shoulders and moving both of us around drunk-like because she was so intoxicated with her embarrassment and laughter, all of that, before saying in a very whispery, raspy, dried-out laughter tone, "Here, I thought you were a worker here, haha." Off I laugh with her. I could see how my clean, natural look might confuse her while I stood next to the dressing room. Maybe my panty hunt looked more like arranging the products. But after she wiped her laughter tears, apologized, and went into the dressing room, and I told her it was fine, and laughed back, my so eventually came out of the dressing room and told me he heard the entire thing lol. And we head on over to the next store, to which, in short, another lady mistaken me as a worker. In a dressing room. Story 2. An unexpected win-win. When most people say retail, I imagine that they, like myself, think of people working in stores, restaurants, small shops, etc. This story deals with the medical field because greeters, people staffing the information desk, receptionists, and others also deal in customer, patient, client, consumer service. Recently, I 46 Fahrenheit had to take my special needs daughter 25 Fahrenheit to go do her yearly blood labs. It's to monitor the levels of medication in her system amongst other things. Her usual lab was unavailable. There is construction happening that has closed access to that lab. So we picked another location from the list of labs we could use. We ended at what I think of as a hospital complex. Instead of one hospital building that is connected to the other clinics surrounding it like the one we live near, but is not on the list, this hospital consists of several buildings unconnected next to each other. They all look the same, and the actual address for this place is non-existent. We've had to go here before, for another reason, and of course in another building. Basically, unless you know exactly where your destination is, you will find yourself wandering about on an unplanned excursion. Now, the staff I have interacted with in the past, unless a medical practitioner, all wear fairly casual clothing. The only real thing differentiating them from a non-staffer, if they are not at their assigned station such as the information desk, for example, is that staffers wear an ID on a lanyard. So I pick a random building. Its outside sign had pharmacy listed, so I thought perhaps the lab would be nearby in said building. I got in and ... no one is there. No helpful information desk. No map saying you are here on the wall. Just a small coffee, snack shack, and 2 signs on the wall. One listing in small print, providing which floors housed which providers, and the other sign much larger with pharmacy, and an arrow on it pointing in a vague direction near a hallway that was partially hidden. I didn't bother with the coffee, snack shack, because I doubted the one person working it wouldn't know. Also, they were already serving a couple of customers, and I didn't want to risk wasting any more time than necessary on finding the lab. At this point, I was sighing with frustration. I was on a time crunch, and my daughter was getting antsy when two older women approached me. I'm assuming they too were also a daughter. Mother pair, ages maybe 50 seconds for the younger one and 70 seconds for the older one. The younger one was either desperate or didn't register that I wasn't wearing a staff ID. Either way, she approached me and inquired if I knew where the pharmacy was. I told her I didn't, but I pointed to the sign indicating where the pharmacy should be. She thanked me and proceeded to head that way. Out of desperation and the mindset of you won't know unless you try, I asked her if she knew where the lab for drawing blood was. I was quite surprised that she did. She then sweetly gave me directions, which of course was the next building over with nothing outside of it to indicate there was a lab inside, and then proceeded to take who I presumed to be her mother to the pharmacy. All in all, it was a win-win situation. Story 3. Almost. Not sure if this is a true IDWHL, but it's the closest thing I've got to one. The other day, I was at the convenience store in my tiny Midwest town, getting some coffee, and not wearing anything resembling a uniform. As I'm about to put the lid on it, I noticed a young woman trying to get some breakfast items out of one of their warmers for her presumably two small kids. As kids do, they couldn't keep their hands to themselves, and one started messing with the ice cream machine, which, to the best of my knowledge, hasn't worked in the 4 years I've lived here. A boy of probably 6 or 7 shoved his arm up the metal tube clipped to the side used to dispense cones. Upon doing this, the tube dislodged from the machine, his jacketed arm still inside. Being a parent, without thinking, I reach over and held the tube so he can remove his arm. Seeing how it had been attached, I easily clipped it back onto the machine and went about fixing my coffee. Mom gets my attention and begins apologizing profusely. I looked at her and calmly said, "No worries. It's not like I work here." Without another word, she shifts her attention back to the kids. I didn't expect any further apology for the misunderstanding, so all was good in my universe. No Karens, no name calling, just a little tale that made me smile. Hope you all enjoyed it. Story 4. Lady, not only do I not work here, I pay to be here. 2 things to know about medical school in the US. 1, it's insanely expensive, $250 K per degree. And 2, we do a bunch of mandatory rotations through certain specialties where we are usually treated like garbage. That also includes OBGYN. When I trained, OBGYN was infamously known as the specialty that eats its young. For a specialty that brings life in the world, they definitely did their best to suck mine out of me. Who knows, maybe it changed in recent years. Anyway, that's the setting. I'm in the labor unit working night shift 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. The residents training doctors and attendings practicing doctors in charge of the team have made it clear to me that in the hierarchy of importance, I am beneath the trash can, so I'm stuck there for 12 hours avoiding them when they're stressed, and trying to help to the degree I don't piss anyone off. Lady comes rolling in with 2 other people, and one of the residents tells me to go see her. Hi, I'm Is That Really Butter, the medical student with the labor and delivery unit. Is it okay if I ask you a few questions? Patient, just give me a moment. I need to check your aura. Me? What? Side note, I pride myself now on having an amazing poker face, in part because of some batshit things I experienced in medical school. This was one of them. Patient, your aura. I detect oranges and yellows. You're an optimist, aren't you? I need that right now. Come in, come in. Lee, thank you, ma'am. I was young and innocent and didn't leave immediately, but my woo-woo senses were screaming. I go through my typical questions about her pregnancy and labor so far. Then I ask the dangerous question, do you have a birth plan? She pulls out a laminated binder, opens it, and proceeds to walk me through her incredibly long list of requests, including no lights, no medications for herself or the baby, no epidurals, regular meditation, keep the placenta, oil diffuser, etc. I think at some point the nurses felt pity on me, and one came in to check in. Patient aura checked her too. She was purple, which I don't know what that meant, but she was in. Nurse got pulled into her long explanation of her pink laminated birth Bible. Nurse, ma'am, thank you for showing this to us, But I think you should discuss this with the doctors because some of your wishes we can do, but some we might not be able to meet depending on how your labor goes. Patient, well, I paid good money to be here. I pay for all of you to be here. You can make it happen. Eventually, I talk her into letting me have it to show it to the doctor. And we step out the room. Nurse leaves, very ominously saying she is going to be special. For the next few hours, her room turned into a revolving door as the patient proceeds to hire and fire people based on their auras. How this lady read them, I have no clue, but she ended up firing 4 nurses, 2 residents, a tech, and the janitor because some of them were radiating bad energy, and one was too red. She absolutely refused to have any discussion about her birth plan or give any leeway with it because it was decided with her spiritual guru. No one wanted to talk to her because she was too woo-woo. So clearly I'm stuck going into her sage-scented room to appease her whims, including cleaning her stuff, refilling her oil diffuser, rubbing tea tree oil on weird places, helping her in her yoga positions. And the labor pain really kicked in. And suddenly, morphine was okay in her birth plan because it was a natural remedy. And the anesthesiologist's piercing green aura was tolerable because he mellowed into a soft matcha. Except when you give too much morphine to a pregnant woman. The baby also gets it too, and the baby's heart rate was slowing. So I'm stuck telling her she can't get more morphine. Patient, oh thank goodness you're here. I need more morphine. I'm in so much pain. Neat, ma'am, I understand you're in pain. However, we can't give you any more. Your baby can't tolerate it. Patient, the baby. The baby is completely fine. I feel him. It's me you should be worried about. And the one paying to be here. I'm in pain. I need the morphine. Neat, ma'am. The anesthesiologist can discuss giving you an epidural for pain control. It'll be safer for both you and the baby, and it'll control your pain. Patient, you want to put that toxin in my body. Didn't you read my birth plan? Absolutely not. I need the morphine. Again, I paid to be here. I pay for your salary. I hired you. Remember, I can fire you. You should be listening to me here. In my 11th hour of being there, she broke me, ma'am. With all due respect, I'm just the medical student. I don't get a salary. I actually pay to be here. Even if you fire me, your doctors, including your anesthesia team, is saying you cannot get more morphine because it is a danger to your baby. I'm sure that the anesthesiologists are happy to discuss any other options for your pain control, which includes an option for an epidural. Patient, fuck those toxins, and fuck you. Get out. You're fired too. I knew you weren't a yellow. You were a chartreuse. So I got to go home and collapsed happily in bed. The next day, I check in and I got the full story from the nurses. Apparently, she cracked and got an epidural. Then she went into active labor and hated it so much she demanded it to stop. She underwent general anesthesia for a C-section and delivered her baby. For the rest of the month I was there, all of us had little name tags with our aura colors on it. I was chartreuse. Story 5. Walking a lady around work after I clock out. So this happened a little bit ago. I was working at Walmart during the evening shift, 1:10 p.m. shift. I've seen a lot of crap while I worked there. When you work there, the people of Walmart honestly become ingrained in your memory. So this one night I clock out, and am shopping around a bit before I go home, still wearing my vest, but wearing a coat over it. It's when I see this really gentle old lady who is walking around. She sees that I'm wearing my vest, and asks me in a very polite yet delightfully southern sassy way, "Excuse me, young man, can you help me find the hairspray?" Now I didn't work the floor, but work anywhere long enough. And you'll know where a fair bit of stuff is. I decided that I can spare a few minutes, and tell her of course, it's over in pharmacy. I can show you if you'd like. She took me up on the offer, and I helped her find the hairspray as we talked. She was a hoot. She was telling me about how she was a retired police officer back in the day, and how she was riding with a local biker club. I know them. They are super nice people with a lot of older people. I help her find a handful of other things. As we just talk, she told me about her late husband, who was always the best little crap to her, and that she still loves him and can't wait to meet him after. She was really happy talking about him. She also told me about her daughter's wedding the week before, and how she's going to have a nephew soon. After a bit of the amazing conversations, she says that she was going to check out and thank me repeatedly. And I told her how I was happy to help and was going home myself. She looked a bit embarrassed that I was actually clocked out, but I shot that down with being really happy to just talk with her and thanked her for keeping me company. I know it's not like the other stories of self-entitled rude people, but it was a really nice, and I wanted to share. Story 6. This made me feel good even though I don't work there. My husband and I were shopping at Walmart a couple of days ago, and we're heading toward the home goods area when I heard a couple getting frustrated by the tones of their voices a couple of aisles away. I told my husband I'd be right back and went over to ask them what was wrong. They were looking for folder tabs to put into folders in order to mark different sections. Now, I keep a database of seeds because I collect packets of seeds the way some people collect baseball cards. Yeah, I'm a botany geek, so I knew right where those were. So I told them, hey, I know where that is. You're in the wrong area. It's in with paper, folders, and stationery and office supplies. Follow me. So I lead them right to where it was. Heh, the guy said, hey, they need more employees like you, helping people on your day off. I couldn't help but laugh, and I told him sorry, I don't work here. I just happen to know where a lot of the stuff is around here. He and the lady he was with also laughed, and then the guy said, well, you should be. You're at least helpful. They asked me where a few other things were for office supplies, and then where the women's clothing was. They apparently had everything else. No biggie, like I said, I know where everything is there. They don't change the store around much. I was glad to help. I don't work there, but it still felt good to be useful. All in all, it was a great day. Story 7. I do work for the company. This supermarket isn't under the company though. Long-time lurker even before joining Reddit, have always wanted to post this on here. For the record, country is situated in Singapore. We are predominantly Asian mixed with other races of color. We do have Caucasians, Saudi, people from Africa, etc. But they'll usually be in the city, town, CBD area. I do hope this doesn't come off as rude or offensive because I'm not sure how to describe the country lol. Also would like to apologize if my English is weird. Although I take it as my first language, I still get nervous speaking or typing it anywhere that has others who already has it naturally as their first language. This happened about a year ago, 2 months before I left the company. One known fact about this company is that it's the main headquarters of a certain mailing company, and is also basically a shopping mall by itself, the whole building split into shopping mall at the front, an office at the back. So during my 1-hour break, I went to the basement level to get to the supermarket called NTUC to get my microwavable food, some plastic plates, spoon, and forks. As I worked my way through the aisle looking for some instant noodles, because why not, I heard an almost gruffy voice asking me that he needed help. I looked up, obviously very confused, and noticed it was a Caucasian man. I looked left and right, saw another person there who looked equally as confused before I asked in a very meek voice, yes, sir. Yes, I was wondering if you could help me find an item. He asked again, while furrowing his eyebrows at me. I blinked once, twice, then finally cocked my head to the side. I'm sorry, but I don't work here. And you're wearing the uniform. He shot back and I looked at my work uniform. A purple, checkered button-up shirt, then back up at him, and he continued, you work for company name. I let out a short laugh, and immediately understood his confusion. Oh, you must not be around here. I work for company name, yes. However, this is also a mall, and the supermarket we're in is of a different company. This here is NTUC. You might want to look for the ones in the blue uniform. I work in the general post office, not here. Different company, you see. I hope you get what you're looking for. Have a nice one. I left immediately since I've now spent nearly 15 minutes in the supermarket, and it was eating away at my lunch hour, so I didn't get to see his reaction other than a wait. Sorry it's not as dramatic as all the other stories, but it's common knowledge that the company itself, although a single building, has a split function, it being a mall at the front and office at the back. Common knowledge, unless you're a tourist or someone who's just arrived to work in the country itself. I hope everyone else has a great day. Story 8. Oh yeah, he's my husband. So my husband and I are in an interracial relationship, which is not extremely common in our country due to our history. But there are more, and more interracial couples out there each day. For context, due to cultural history in our country, some people are more inclined to accept same-sex relationships over interracial. No one makes a public deal about same-sex relationships, but they're instances of interracial relationships between popular figures that are heavily criticized by people. Anyway, so my husband and I are walking by my favorite stationery store, and I'm like a kid in a candy store walking down every single aisle and pointing out things I want to buy, explaining why, and just generally sharing with my husband, who is walking a step back from me with the trolley, just lazily following me down each aisle, patiently listening to what I have to say because he's amazing lol. He then got distracted down one of the aisles with some gadget, and I just continued down the next aisle when this lady starts following behind, and I kind of just ignored her. Maybe it's not relevant, but she's the same race as my husband. So she walks up to me eventually, and I start walking back to find my husband. And she starts rambling off without a hitch about how she's looking for this specific item. And when she's done, I just look at her and go, "Sorry, I don't work here." And she goes all red in the face and says, "Well, I saw you helping that gentleman, and you look like you know what you're doing, so I thought you worked here." And I go, "Well, yeah, he's my husband," and shocked and clearly embarrassed. She just looked at me, mumbled sorry, and walked away. Meanwhile, my hubby heard the whole thing, and is laughing his ass off at the whole thing. And wow, I did not realize that so many people would latch onto the race thing in the way they did. Firstly, let me clarify by saying that yes, I am from South Africa, as some of you guessed. Second, it is a big deal being in an interracial relationship in our country. For the one commenter calling me a racist for assuming, I don't care what you think because you clearly have no idea what it's like being in an interracial relationship in a country, and more specifically a city where people think it's wrong. Like seriously, we get heavily criticized, and we've even been asked why can't find a nice young girl that's. It isn't presumptuous of me to assume it was based on my skin color, because it happens all the damn time when people of my husband's race walk to him and immediately start speaking in a language that he does not understand, and I stand aside laughing. I off because I'm fluent in that language, but because of my skin color, there's an unconscious bias. It's a thing in our country.